Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed colleagues. My name is Danila Longo, and I'm professor with the University of Bologna, core partner of the ROCK project. I'm the chair of this session. Welcome to the CityTalks, developing iconic urban actions in the ROCK Replicator Cities. This session is focused on how ROCK project supported the transformation of urban areas into cultural and sustainable districts in the historic centers. We are speaking about Bologna, Lisbon, and Skopje. Each of these cities has worked on specific pilot cases with temporary projects and testing technological tools to monitor this transformation, using also innovative governance models. This is a topic of great interest to me, and I know that this will be a very interesting morning also for you. In the first part of today's meeting, we will learn more about the actions of the replicator cities. We are pleased to say that we have with us three representatives of the cities of Bologna, Skopje, and Lisbon. I would like to thank them to be here with us during this session, and also in the second part of the morning, where we have organized a campfire to discuss deeply with them. So stay tuned, as you will also have the possibility to directly ask them some questions. You can already start to write your question in the chat panel, or even better, in the dedicated Q&A panel. Both of them are on the left of your screen, and we will collect your questions and we will address them during the campfire session. So let's start with the first action of the ROCK project. I'm pleased to introduce the first speaker of the session, Toni Masevski from the City of Skopje, who will present the Light Festival. Toni Masevski is a business professional advisor in a developing organization. He currently advises the mayor of the city of Skopje for strategy and development. Without further ado, please welcome Toni, and let's virtually fly to Skopje for learning more about their first iconic action.
Hello, my name is Toni Masevski and I come from the city of Skopje. Today I will be talking about the Skopje Light Art District. The video that you just saw intended to bring you closer and to give you some insights of the city of Skopje through the light of the Skopje Light Art District. But what actually is Skopje Light Art District? It is an event, it is a festival that we would rather take it as a platform that gathers and combines modern art, technologies, science, cities, infrastructure, and nature through the light. It is launched in 2018 within the cultural event White Night, and since then we had 3 consecutive editions that were very successful. Furthermore, I will discuss more in details about the important aspects of the Skopje Light Art District. One of the most important things in every project is forming a team. How to form a team and how to deal with all the issues in connection with the Light Festival, we had a chance to learn only from the best, Mr. Jean-Francois Zeravic, who unfortunately passed away last week. So I would like at this occasion to pay tribute to Mr. Jean-Francois Zeravic and his help to establish this kind of a festival. Together with Mr. Jean-Francois Zeravic in May 2018, we started the first steps of founding the festival, organizing the local team from the local ROCK team members, the acquisition of the art director, Ms. Alexandra Stratimirovic, and from the execution part, we have the leader, the Universal Hall as a city institution, and the Youth Cultural Center, also city institution under the jurisdiction of the city of Skopje. Both institutions have great experience in organizing public events, and this is why we thought they were the ones that should carry out the whole activity. The budget is one of the most important issues, but in our case it turned out that even though with a very modest budget we can have a very successful event. We started with only 60,000 euros in 2018, with 150,000 euros in 2019, and with 85,000 in 2020. The important thing is that not only from the ROCK budget, but also we managed to match funds from the city's budget. So in 2018 we matched 20,000, in 2019 85,000, and in 2020 we matched 85,000 euros for the event. Our intention was that we raised an interest to the third parties in financing this kind of activity, in thinking about setting up a sustainability model for the project. The acquisition of artists started with international call for artists in prior to every edition of the festival. And the important thing is that we found out that on the domestic market, even though we didn't have any light festival before, there were artists that had experience on the foreign festivals. So in 2018 we had 5 domestic artists and 9 international, 2019 7 domestic and 18 international, and in 2020 9 domestic and 12 foreign artists. The diversity from country is also important to be seen. So in 2018 we had 5 countries being present, 2019 11 countries present, and in 2020 besides the COVID crisis we had 9 countries present. The perspective of installations is interesting to be seen from 2 sides. One side is the diversity of technologies, innovation and creativity that we find in the installations from the artists, and on the other hand is the reputation that Sklat gained throughout the years. So in 2018 we had 28 applications. In 2019, we had 34 applications, and in 2020, remember that we had a COVID crisis, we had 92 installations that applied for the festival. So we can conclude that the Skopje Light Art District gained good reputation in the region as a light festival. The technology can be also discussed from two different perspectives. One perspective is what the Skopje Light Art District as a festival used as technology, and the other perspective is the technologies used by the artists in their installation. As a festival, Skopje Light Art District in 2009 introduced the mobile app, and also in 2020, after we got the experience from Fête de Lumière from Lyon. The motive behind the mobile apps is that we reach a broader public. So through the mobile apps, the audience could get the festival map, they could read information and details about the installations while they were visiting them, and a number of safety instructions. The core idea behind the mobile app is that we could reach higher number of audience. So we use it from a promotional perspective. We wanted to keep the audience informed about what they're going to see, and we wanted to keep them very active. And in a way, we used the mobile app as a teaser to tease people to come and see what is on site. On the other hand, we have the diversity of technologies used by the artists in their installations. So from very passive to very active light technologies, we saw high-end technologies like the video mapping technologies, but we also managed to show technologies that were human-driven, and this is the theater of shadows. A value added to the whole Skopje Light Art District was the conference. After we saw it in Fête de Lumière in Lyon, we also decided to have a conference prior and during the Skopje Light Art District. So in 2019, we invited the neighboring countries to send their art directors, and the motive behind that was that we exchange experiences, and we clarify the stage the light art is in the region. Also, we discussed innovative approaches in light arts, and basically this was the core message of the conference, and this is the new forms of arts in education. The next level of cooperation that we were discussing on was regional cooperation, and we managed to make a kind of a networking with Ljubljana, Belgrade, Zagreb, Plovdiv, and Pula, and we concluded that the regional networking is one of the ways that we would increase the level of the light art festivals in the region. The Skopje Light Art District as a festival had a great impact on our city and in the society in general, so I would like to emphasize three different aspects of the impact. The first one is the territorial aspect. In 2018, under the umbrella of the ROCK project, we started with a small territory, only 650 meters of length of the path, and mostly the installations were focused on giving a new light to the cultural heritage that we could find on site. But due to the very high interest and density of people in 2019, we extended the territory into 2.5 kilometers only to give more space and to give more possibility for large crowd and large number of people to see the installation at the same time. This also was transferred in 2020, and the logic behind it was that we were in a period of fighting COVID crisis, that we extend the length of the path into 2.2 kilometers and to have a message driven to the audience, and this was follow the green path. And the core message behind that was our city goes green. And this message throughout the narrative was led to the audience. The impact on the local ecosystem, I can say, was huge. It was a new experience for all local stakeholders, together with the administration of the city and the institutions that were involved in the execution of the festival. Our experience was that in 2018, when we first started, some of the local stakeholders were very reserved, and I can say even resistant to this kind of activity, and we suffered small problems in installing some of the installation. That led us thinking about establishing a new local ecosystem for the needs of the Skopje Light Art District, and this is actually what happened. The ecosystem got stronger and stronger on every new edition of the festival. So we had variety of stakeholders, for example, providers of technology, infrastructure, security, and different aspects being organized in one small ecosystem that led to new collaborations, variety of collaborations among the partners in the project, and also the city administration with the partners. That brought to new opportunities, and we saw new innovative ideas in using the new public spaces that actually brought fresh motive for the whole ecosystem year by year. But the great impact and the greatest impact the festival had was on the broader public. I will here just mention one comment of a friend of mine that said Skopje Light Art District was one of the best things that happened to this city. Covered by a good media coverage on the electronic and also on the social media, it raised the interest of the public year by year. So we started somewhere from 30,000 in the first year to 50,000 the second year, and we can say that this year, besides the COVID crisis, we had close to 40,000 visitors. The most important thing is that the Skopje Light Art District brought new values to the city, and this helped the city in organizing its application for the Capital of Culture for 2028. And the second most important value that was brought and also through and for the ROCK project was the new attention, the new perspective on the cultural heritage and on the devastated and forgotten cultural heritage that we have in the city. So, wrap it up in one sentence, I can say that yes, I confirm that one of the best things that happened to the city was the Skopje Light Art District.
Thank you, Toni, for your presentation. We will see you again during the campfire session that will run at 11 o'clock. Now we go to a similarly very interesting iconic action that has been recently realized in the city of Bologna. For this action, we have with us Francesco Volta from the City of Bologna. Francesco works for the Department of Culture and Promotion of the city in the municipality of Bologna as responsible of the Public Art Office. I don't want to spoiler much of this section, so please let me welcome Francesco and let's fly to the city of Bologna.
Per me Bologna estate è proprio un arcobaleno.
È stato molto emozionante perché i timori naturalmente c'erano.
Abbiamo riscontrato un po' di paura, però c'era anche una grande emozione, una grande voglia di ritrovarsi.
È bellissimo ritrovare il pubblico, ritrovare la dimensione della comunità.
Bologna estate ha portato una ventata di entusiasmo.
Ha significato l'emozione di ritrovarsi insieme nei luoghi della città e della cultura.
Bisogna anche dare un segnale di ripartenza e questo sicuramente è un modo per farlo.
È sempre una cosa bella il fatto di dire ragazzi ci siamo.
La vivacità di Bologna da giugno in avanti secondo me è una cosa meravigliosa.
C'era il cinema in piazza, il cinema alla barca.
C'erano i burattini.
Si sono create delle sinergie che si sono già proiettate per il futuro. Ci sono dei progetti nuovi per il 2021 che non sarebbero nati se non ci fosse stata questa Bologna estate in questo modo così particolare.
Bologna estate è un modo per proporre delle cose che magari normalmente avresti distanti o non capiterebbero e soprattutto in delle location che magari normalmente non vengono sfruttate.
Penso che in Bologna estate abbia avuto un ruolo importante di far riscoprire delle nuove modalità alle persone di stare insieme.
È importante per riattivare una serie di meccanismi culturali che sono mancati nei mesi prima.
Gli appuntamenti estivi del comune sono un po' un punto di riferimento per la città, però quest'anno aveva secondo me un significato in più, il significato di ritrovarsi dopo che era successa una cosa insomma grossa per tutti, quindi anche questa idea di fare un po' il punto insieme alla mia città.
Good morning. My name is Francesco Volta. I work for the Department of Culture and Promotion of the City of the Municipality of Bologna as responsible of Public Art Office. During the last 3 years, I have also actively collaborated with the ROCK Office of Bologna, a sort of multitasking team co-created with the researchers of the University of Bologna and members of the Urban Innovation Foundation. Within the ROCK project, the municipality and the University of Bologna are leading several experiments in the heart of the historic center in order to tap into the creative potential of local users and in particular of students. One of the main actions concerns the experiments to test possible configuration for the redefinition of the use of Piazza Rossini, a peculiar, beautiful square that, until the year 2018, was unfortunately used as a parking lot in the middle of the university historical area. According to its grant agreement, the ROCK project, in response to the Horizon 2020 call, Cultural Heritage as a driver for sustainable growth, the action on Piazza Rossini concerned the re-elaboration of the square referred to the greening activity of the area as a mitigation, monitoring, and modeling strategy. But let's take a step back. During the 3 years of ROCK project, different types of actions have been carried out in the university area of Bologna. From this point of view, before the experience of Piazza Rossini, another fundamental pilot action was represented by the project Malherbe, a first example of adaptive reuse of public space started in June 2017. That is to say, the transformation of Scaravilli Square from parking to a new space of human and urban relations. Above all, the preliminary consideration of the green action in Piazza Rossini were born during the participatory laboratory called U-Lab. The U-Lab process was attended by over 250 people through meetings, ateliers, and cultural events, from which emerged the need to restore a social dimension to the squares, enhancing the collaboration of all the actors of the territory: cultural institutions, associations, students, and inhabitants, paying particular attention to greening, accessibility, lighting, and design elements. In particular, concerning Piazza Rossini, the proposed project for the first temporary redefinition of the square and the result of a shared and participatory process was called Green Please, the meadow you don't expect. This project was conceived through a co-design and co-construction workshop that involved local stakeholders and students of the Department of Architecture of the University of Bologna, with the coordination of the Urban Innovation Foundation. Piazza Giacomo Rossini is a public space of a great historical and architectural value. Many relevant buildings define the square. Several historical documents, maps, and views represented the area of Piazza Rossini with a different pavement surface compared to other squares or roadways. A green vegetable pavement, as we can notice, for example, in this detail of Bononiensis Ditio of the Sala Bologna in the Vatican, a document dated 1575, or, for example, a cobblestone floor, as we can see in this view of Piazza Rossini, depicted by Werner in 1733. A document that defines the area of the ancient churchyard or a cemetery of Basilica of San Giacomo Maggiore, marking its different texture. The choice of vegetable lawn is suggested by these archival documents, searched and deepened by students involved. The unexpected perception of the square space proposed by the temporary reuse projects recall an historical reference. Consequently, in September 2019, Piazza Rossini was finally involved within a temporary project, designed and co-built with students who transformed part of this area, usually used as a parking, into a green space, proposing an unexpected perception of the area and restoring the trace of the ancient churchyard of the San Giacomo Maggiore Church. At the same time, the choice of a meadow fits in an European framework, which sees European capitals at the forefront of efforts to tackle climate change, even creating urban forests to reduce the CO2. The experimentation was part of a broader strategy of actions that systematically involved all public space of the district, as recalled by the name of this initiative, the 5 squares of the U-Zone, developed in synergy with the programming of Bologna Design Week and Researchers' Night in September 2019. The temporary experiment was successfully embraced by the citizens, with a weekly presence of over 200,000 visitors, monitored through 10 crowd analysis sensor with Wi-Fi GPS technology installed in the area, who did not just transit through the area, but spent some time in the square with an average of about 20 minutes stop. The installation has been abundantly commented on social media, receiving around 85 shares on Instagram and 38 articles. Furthermore, a large number of citizens, local associations, and social entrepreneurial activities, professional intermediaries, and ad hoc initiatives enthusiastically endorsed the initiative as a first step towards a future vision of the city. These events led rapidly to the decision of the municipality to turn it into a permanent solution for the pedestrianization of this space. From this perspective, in May 2020, the Urban Innovation Foundation started to co-design with the university a new temporary solution of the square. As a consequence, the new project for Piazza Rossini becomes temporary, but also characterized by an experimental nature, a pilot experience which, although of limited duration in time, aims at achieving long-term results. The rediscovery and the reappropriation of this public space by citizens with a common point of view must correspond to the contextual construction of a sense of collective responsibility towards cultural heritage. The positive reaction came from citizens at the first testing occasion on September 2019, also supported by spontaneous collection of signatures that has shown how a reversible intervention carried out in self-construction and in a few days can trigger dynamics of reactivation of communities as well as places, raising awareness on climate change and generating a heated debate around the theme of sustainability of historic centers. Moreover, it is important to remember that emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic, cities are embracing several strategies to grant a wider and healthier public space for its citizens, to create a more attractive situation for visitors, and to provide inclusive environments for the largest categories of citizens to retrieve a social dimension. That's why, from the 18th of August to the end of September 2020, the municipality of Bologna decided to use the temporary loan of Piazza Rossini as a frame for a program of 20 events called Take Care of You, including guided tours to discover the past of the university area and theatrical readings to enhance, through the imagination, the uniqueness of this space. The experimentation will continue during the next year, waiting for the square to assume its final configuration, a period during which the city will have the opportunity to learn to respect, enhance, and make grow, like a vegetable seedling, the rediscovered place. But I would like to conclude mentioning a recent cultural event realized by Cantieri Meticci, an intercultural theater company of Bologna that currently works with foreigner sectors, and in particular with migrant citizens. Cantieri Meticci, together with the municipality, the university, and the Academy of Fine Arts of Bologna, organized in Piazza Rossini a sort of common urban rite, a workshop to create and to make flying kites to remember Patrick Zaki, the Egyptian student of the University of Bologna, detained in Egypt since February 2020, principally because of his research on gender and human rights. In this important final meeting of the European Project ROCK, we are proud to remember that as a city and University of Bologna, we are deeply committed to Patrick Zaki's safe and quick return to Bologna. Until then, it is our duty to make sure that the Italian government and the European Union continue to do their best for ensuring Patrick's return to our community. Thank you very much indeed, and we will continue our discussion later.
Thank you, Francesco, for your very interesting presentation. And we will also see you later at 11 o'clock for the campfire session. I would now remember to participants that you can already start to ask questions, writing them in the chat box or in the Q&A box, which is on the left side of your screen. Okay, we will move on to the next presentation. We will now learn more about an iconic action able to develop the sense of belonging of citizens for the neighborhood. We have, in fact, Alexandra and Aníbal from the city of Lisbon, who will speak about the interpretative center of Marvilla. Alexandra has been working for several years in adult education and in the validation of non-formal and informal learning at the Lisbon municipality and at the Portuguese Employment and Vocational Training Institute. Now I'm going to hand over to Alexandra, and let's see what is happening in Lisbon.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Aníbal from Lisbon City Hall. I'm going to present you the main action of the ROCK project in Lisbon, the Marvilla and Beato Interpretive Center. In Lisbon, the ROCK area covers the neighborhoods of Marvilla and Beato, a territory which have complex geographic and social characteristics. The coexistence of rural and industrial heritage, together with the presence in vast parts of this territory of social housing, vacant green spaces and multiple barriers, have been considered for the implementation of ROCK activities. A process of very rapid gentrification is going on in one part of this territory, close to the river. On the other hand, in the interior areas of the territory, there are several micro neighbourhoods with problems of accessibility, isolation, and poverty. These processes risk to further increase the social barriers among people living in the ROCK area. In our Lisbon Living Lab in Marvilla's library, the issue of identity was considered a very important one to bring people together and reinforce community bonds. We have chosen to work on identity and memory, with the intangible cultural heritage and with the memories that connect each individual with the tangible cultural heritage of his or her territory. Based on social museology and through a participative approach in which the local community was called to intervene actively, we are creating the Marvila and Beato Interpretive Center, gathering knowledge about the cultural heritage of this area. We have created an organizing committee with residents from various districts of Marvila and Beato, representatives of local institutions and associations, Lisbon municipality workers, and researchers from ICS University of Lisbon. These people, gathered in teams, surveyed the heritage elements of this territory, collected photographs, documents, and films about their local heritage. They were also the ones who identified the witnesses of the territory's history, people whose memories are closely linked to the local heritage of Marvila and Beato, and those testimonials were shared with us. All this information will be shared on the interactive equipment located at Marvilla's library and will be available online. The Marvila and Beato Interpretive Center will reinforce Marvilla's library role of cultural and community hub. We will show you now a film that explains in more detail how we developed this project in a very close proximity with the communities of Marvila and Beato. Enjoy. Thank you.
ROCK, which stands for Regeneration and Optimization of Cultural Heritage in Creative and Knowledge Cities, is an Horizon 2020 European project that includes 32 partners and 13 countries. In Lisbon, the ROCK area covers the neighbourhoods of Marvila and Beato, a former rural and industrial territory composed of multiple micro-neighbourhoods, which present complex geographic and social characteristics. Although the ROCK area stands near the historical city centre, public connections are rather limited, which adds difficulties to internal mobility and creates tangible and intangible barriers among communities. The implementation of local programs for social housing have solved emerging problems and enhanced the quality of life. In parallel, important cultural heritage buildings, such as old palaces and industrial buildings that have been abandoned, are now in fast process of rehabilitation by local and international investors, which risks to further increase the social barriers among people living in the ROCK area. In this context, and via ROCK project, the Lisbon municipality has invested in the creation of a living lab to approach cultural and urban issues by engaging local communities. On that basis, two core topics were advanced. The first one, urban voids, ecological networks, with several initiatives linking community participation, use of local heritage, and innovation. The second one, focused in the local community's identity, as conducted to the creation of the Marvila and Beato Interpretive Center. Through a participative approach in which the local community was called to intervene actively, the center is being created at the Marvilla's library, aiming to gather knowledge about the tangible and intangible cultural heritage of this territory, making it available to the public in an appealing, playful, and innovative way. In the creation of this interpretive center, participative inventory methodology has been put in place. We have gathered in the organizing committee residents from various districts of Marvila and Beato, representatives of local institutions and associations, Lisbon municipality workers, and researchers from the ICS University of Lisbon. These people, gathered in teams, surveyed the heritage elements of this territory, collected photographs, documents, and films about their local heritage. They were also the ones who identified the witnesses of the territory's history, people whose memories are closely linked to the local heritage of Marvila and Beato, and those testimonials were generously shared with us. This collection of documents, images, and more than 200 testimony videos will be shared on the interactive equipment located at Marvila's library and will be available online.
Tio meu tinha pombalde com pomos correios. E então, o que é que acontecia? As pessoas ficavam junto ao pombal, que não iam aos jogos, e o meu tio levava os pomos para cima. Depois era assim, estava-se a dar o jogo, o oriental marcava um golo, e ele pegava num papelinho na anilha, porque era pombo correio, né, que regressava daqueles pomos que regressam ao pombal, pedia a anilha, e o pombo lá vinha. Isto a gente estava no Beato, aquilo era maravilha, o pombo demorava aí assim pelo menos depois, porque os pomos normalmente, para ir ao pombal, não vêm diretos aos pombais, andam a rodar para se orientar e demorava algum tempo. E então era curioso que às vezes chegava o resultado, então está ganhando um zero. Já não estava, ou já estava a empatar, ou já estava a ganhar mais, porque já vinha atrasado. A comunicação era assim.
Trabalhava com um médico, que era o Dr. Rock, que era de crianças, e morava cá embaixo, ao pé da farmácia, que era a única farmácia de Marvila, que era o Sr. Miguel. Ele morava por cima e ele ensinou-a, e ela, pronto, quando havia as mulheres para ter os bebés, lá ia a tia Maria Rosa, lá íamos nós a correr, tia Maria Rosa, venha lá depressa a casa que está do seu bebê. E ela vinha, pronto, era a parteira do bairro.
Mas com algum custo conseguiram arranjar-me um trabalhinho aí numa oficina aqui na rua José Patrocínio, aqui perto. E foi para lá que eu fui trabalhar, uma oficina de serralharia e uma fundição, portanto, onde se faziam moldes, onde se faziam porta-chaves, onde se faziam muitas coisinhas por aí assim. Trabalhei ali durante algum tempo, até arranjar um outro trabalho. Eu estava numa situação de ilegalidade, digo eu, não era naquela altura, porque às vezes aparecia por lá a polícia e mandavam os jovens, porque não era só eu, eram muitos jovens que trabalhavam lá, mandavam-nos ir por uma casa escura, para ficarmos ali reservados. Quando a polícia ia embora, mas a polícia vinha por outra razão qualquer, mas como não se sabia o que vinham fazer, com certeza, os patrões, portanto, diziam para a gente se arrumar e depois chamavam gente de novo e estávamos ali ao trabalho. Muita juventude, muito crianças ainda no trabalho.
Quando eu recebi aquela chave de entrada e abri, eu moro no 5º C, eu não subi no elevador, eu subi a pé, corri aquilo tudo. Quando cheguei à minha porta, abri a porta da casa, eu dancei, ali na entrada, dancei, pois entrei dentro de casa, dancei a minha casa toda, dancei na cozinha, dancei na casa do banho, dancei todos os lados. E depois, a partir dali, eu nunca mais dormi no alojamento, na Avenida de Berna. Vinha todos os dias, todas as noites eu vinha para a minha casa sem ter lá roupa, sem ter luz, sem ter nada.
Fregateiro era aqueles homens que andavam a bordo das fregatas, que transportavam mercadorias das margens do norte e sul do Tejo e que iam até de Porto de Lisboa até à Chamusca, Barreiro, toda aquela zona era tudo feito com os barcos impelidos pelas velas com o vento. O vento empurrava as velas.
A minha mãe dizia sempre, eu, por exemplo, dizia que eu vou à Baixa, e ela dizia, eu vou a Lisboa. Minha mãe contava, porque já não é do meu tempo, contava que debaixo do arco que fica em frente à freguesia, havia um portão. E tinham uma senha para passar para a vila, porque as vilas foram feitas para as pessoas das fábricas, das fábricas. Minha mãe contava muitas histórias, coisas antigas.
Thank you, Lisbon. Thank you, Alexandra, for your contribution. We will have the opportunity to ask you some questions in the campfire session in around 10 minutes from now. I take this opportunity to do a very briefly reflection on the role that these typologies of actions are having in the cities. You have seen iconic actions in 3 very different European cities, and you will see more in the next days. These iconic actions had the ability to constitute pilot experimentations where testing activities that in those specific cities were not conceived as possible. Indeed, the Light Festival, the middle of Piazza Rossini, and the Interpretative Center have been somehow disruptive innovation in their own context. And it is this relation with the context that has been crucial for the ROCK project. The methodology that we implemented in those contexts was in fact based on research action circular and iterative process in which the context is deeply studied in order to understand each own characteristics and values. Plus, pilot actions are usually co-designed and sometimes co-created with students, with the citizens, and finally the results and the impacts of those actions are evaluated and monitored. We apply this process in all the cities involved in the project, and the results are now very satisfying. I hope that this reflection, together with the contribution from the replicator cities, are creating some reflections and questions so that we can further discuss all these in the next part of the morning. We have now a very short break, then we will await you in the following room, named Campfire, with the Skopje, Lisbon and Bologna. There we will have the chance to ask questions to our speakers, which are present live to answer to you. And if you have already written a question in the chat or in the Q&A panel, we will collect them. If not, you still have the time to address them here or in the following room. I will wait for you all in a few minutes in the campfire with the Skopje, Lisbon and Bologna virtual room. Thank you for your attention, and thank you again to all of the speakers, and have a nice short break.